What is going on, traders? This is going to be a quick video. I just want to give you guys an update on my expectations for the next few weeks. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So today was pretty good, and things are looking actually better than I expected. We're looking at the NQ, and NQ looks pretty bullish. I will say that much, and it does look like we could see a potential move all the way back towards these guys up here at around 22,300, right where Jerome Powell originally sold out the market. NQ has yet to revisit this area. We saw ES revisit that area. We saw the SPY revisit that area. I think we saw the triple Qs revisit that area. We'll look in a bit, but NQ has yet to revisit this area. So I do imagine that if the market remains bullish, that we could see a move back up to 22,300 on the NQ. But there is one thing that's bothering me, and that is the ES. Okay, that is the ES, and we'll talk about levels in a bit, but I just want to look at the ES real quick. And I think I talked about this in the last video. Right here in this area, there's a lot of bears in this area. There's a lot of turbulence in this area. I mean, you just look at the structure and you can see this clear as day. There's a lot going on in this area. A lot of bears. Jerome Powell originally sold off the market here, and like I said with the NQ never revisit its Jerome Powell sell-off zone, but ES did. And so it's kind of bothering me where the ES is, right? I'm not exactly, bearish right now or, full blown bullish until we get some type of confirmation from the ES. And I would like to see the ES get above 6,100. What I will say about the NASDAQ that above 21,500 is a good sign. Okay, we want to see a continuation above 21,500. After that, you're looking at a move above 21,700. I'll say 715. And then from there, you really want to stop these guys out of their position all the way at around 21,900 for us to really start talking about that move towards 22,300, 22,500, give or take. So things are looking good. It's just the ES is kind of bothering me right now. And this can easily change. I mean, we do have more news coming in tomorrow. And who knows, Trump may, get rid of tariffs or delay tariffs with China. And we'll talk about that in a bit. And so we look at Bitcoin. And this is kind of another thing that's bothering me, Bitcoin, right? If we're talking about Bitcoin being a leading indicator, once again, we're in an area where there's a lot of turbulence, but bulls have stepped in pretty strong here. I told you guys last video, 92K. I do expect some type of bounce from 92K. As long as we stay above 92K, I think we're pretty good in regards to Bitcoin. But right now, we're right below this trend, so you really want to be careful right here. But above 100K, that's a great sign. Above 99K is a great sign. But we really want to see Bitcoin get back above 103K for us to really start leaning towards the bullish side, at least for me. Okay, you guys do what you want, but for me, I want to see Bitcoin get back above 103K for me to start, being interested in it. But right now, still in this little zone right here, there's not much to talk about here. I mean, that bounce off 92K was great, but I want to see more out of Bitcoin. So that's really all I have for Bitcoin. We look at the SPY, 598. Everyone's been asking me in the Discord, what level should you look out for on the SPY? 598. We got above 598. Things are looking good in regards to the SPY. We want to get above 603, 604, give or take. You want to see a move above there for me to really start leaning more bullish on the SPY. And then from there, we can really start talking about going back towards previous highs all over again. All-time highs, you want to get a move above 610. I think that goes without saying. That's not like some big brain idea or anything. 610 is your key level if you're talking about all-time highs in regards to the SPY. For downside, all right, for downside, like I told you guys, the last two videos, I told you guys about those 590 puts. Wells made a bag. We made a bag in the Discord off those puts. 590 puts, 579 puts. We took profit on all our puts in regards to the SPY. We took profits on our IWM puts. We took profit on almost every put play we had. So congratulations to Discord members on those SPY puts. If you want to see those SPY puts that I was talking about as far as institutions, they were in 590 puts. Check out the last two videos where I talk about how institutions were in 590 puts, and they were also in 579 puts. Now, I don't know if they're still in 579 puts. I will check and look for an opportunity to get back into puts, but right now I'm just not convinced that the market sell-off is going to happen just yet. So need more confirmation, but again, things do look kind of sketchy when it comes to the ES. But right now, NQ looks great. I would go as far as to say SPY looks great. It's below this rising channel, but SPY does look great. You can even argue that there is an inverse head and shoulders pattern here as well. And you're seeing this across the board. You're seeing inverse head and shoulders patterns pretty much everywhere, right? So you got your shoulder here, right? You have another shoulder right around here, right? It's not the prettiest inverse head and shoulders, I will say that much, but the market doesn't care about perfection. And then you have somewhat of a head here. And then your neckline is kind of hideous, but you have your neckline right about here. So it's not the cleanest. I mean, you have to really break some pretty key levels. So 610, you get above 610, which is pretty much your neckline. Then obviously you're heading towards all-time highs at that point. So that's what you're looking at for the SPY. Again, 589 in regards to the downside, you get below 589, chances are you're filling this gap at 584. I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how it happens. And I'll talk about that in a bit. We look at the triple Qs. Triple Qs looks great. I told you guys about 515. We got a little bit below 515, and then we held that 510 level that we talked about in the last video. So 510, we bounced off that 510 level. We got back above 515. We got back above 518. We got back above 520 psych level. So triple Qs looking really good. I guess you could argue that we retested Jerome Powell zone. I mean, you really want to see that move back to 538. I think that's where you really are going to test that area. So if the NQ does see a move towards 22,300, I imagine we'll be right back in this area somewhere. But there's a lot of turbulence in this area. There's a lot of bears in this area, so it's really going to be tough. I would just say be careful, guys. 529, 530 psych level is what you want to see in triple Qs get above for you to really, or for me to start really getting bullish all over again. But you can argue once again that there's an inverse head and shoulders pattern here, right? You got your shoulder here, you got another head here, and then you got your other shoulder here. So something to look out for. Very much possible this can play out. And then you have this falling wedge here as well. Let's actually check out the measured move for this. I don't think I've done that. So all you do if you're new to the channel, you just measure the open and close of the falling wedge. I think I accidentally called it a rising wedge. And then you just bring it to the original breaking point, which is right here. And you're looking at a move towards 540 on the triple Q. So pretty good sign, right? And so we look at the Russell. So the Russell is another thing that's bothering me as well, and right next to the ES, right? The Russell is at weekly resistance right now, right? So we do have news tomorrow, so that could affect and change things. But yeah, the Russell is at weekly resistance. I think we go to the 4-hour time frame. No, it's not here. But yeah, right now Russell is at weekly resistance. So if you want to be bullish on the Russell, you really want to see it get back above five, not five, 230 on the Russell, and then you can start seeing moves towards 235. So that's what I'm looking at for the Russell. In regards to downside, you want to see it get back below 220. Until that happens, it's kind of in a neutral territory, but this weekly resistance is pretty tough. This weekly supply and demand zone, pretty tough here. So Russell obviously moves off news. It moves massively off news. It's very motivated by news, so you definitely want to watch out for this play here or this move here. And so we look at the VIX. VIX has a gap back towards the 17 range. So I do imagine that the VIX is going to want to retest this before we see another move back towards the downside. And I do anticipate another move back towards the downside. I think it's going to be worse the second time around. We'll wait and see. But I do think the next drop is going to be much worse than what we've seen previously, right? And we talked about that in the past. But yeah, I do think the VIX is going to fill this gap, and then we'll have to wait and see what happens from there. But yeah, can the VIX continue to head higher from here? It's very much possible. I mean, you're pretty illiquid all the way to 20. And then from there, I would say you can go as far as about 22 before you see some type of, drop on the VIX. Now, if the VIX does decide to just fill this gap right away, then yeah, that's kind of scary. I will say that much. And if it does just so happen to break back below 17, then you can start seeing it move back towards 15, retest this trend line, and then bounce from there. And obviously, the market would do the inverse of the VIX. And so we look at Nvidia. And I've said this, and people called me crazy. People said I didn't know what I was talking about. Get back in McDonald's, start loading those burgers up. I was getting all types of jokes on Nvidia dropping to the low 100s, even 113. 113 was one of my targets on Nvidia, and look what happened. I mean, we dropped, right? We dropped all the way towards about 113, give or take. Yeah, pretty much 113. So pretty spot on that target. And so we go to the daily time frame here, and as you guys can see, we have this massive rising wedge pattern. Now, what's important to note here is that Nvidia is on top of support. It did close above support at around 113. I would go as far as to say it's 115. So Nvidia can bounce from here. It's just a matter of where. Now, you do have this gap all the way at 142. I don't think Nvidia is quite ready to fill that gap yet. I don't know if AMD and ARM are going to motivate a move back towards the upside for Nvidia. We'll have to wait and see, especially AMD. AMD's just been trash, so I don't really have much for it, but it's definitely something you want to pay attention to when it comes to earnings. I think AMD earnings is tomorrow after hours. Don't quote me on that. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, you do have somewhat of a reversal pattern here as well on Nvidia, so you could see some upside. How much upside is really tough to say. This is just an ugly area. We need more confirmation here in regards to Nvidia, and so that leads me to Apple, and then we'll talk about semiconductor ETFs real quick. Apple. So you have this massive head and shoulders pattern, right? You just have this, and like I said before, I think Apple is going to tank all the way to the low 200s. It's just a matter of when, probably when the market decides to tank all over again. But yeah, you have this massive head and shoulders pattern. It's really tough for me to be bullish on Apple, especially considering these bears right here. These bears are very much present. They want their presence known. I mean, it's going to be tough breaking back above this area. And right now, I just don't see it with Apple. Apple just doesn't provide anything for me to think that it's going to pump or rally towards new highs. It's not innovative. It doesn't bring anything new to the table compared to everyone else. It's just not keeping up with the AI game. That's it. I mean, Apple's in debt. They're paying back their debt, sure, but it's just like, you're not doing anything new for your consumers. So I just have nothing for Apple. And I said this before, prior to their earnings. I just don't think Apple, they beat their earnings, sure. People are still buying their products, but at the end of the day, their guidance is just nothing. It's just lackluster, right? So I do think Apple is going to continue to drop. Now, obviously, you're going to have like little bounces here and there, of course, but I do think Apple is going to drop overall unless they come out with something new. Then obviously that can change. So we look at the semiconductor ETFs real quick. SMH. So I will say this much: you could be forming a double bottom here. You could be forming a double bottom here. You're looking at the 4-hour time frame here, right? You have a bottom here, and let me come on, work with me. And then you have another bottom here, and then your neckline will be at 250. So if you get past 250, I would say 251 on SMH, you can start looking at that gap fill all the way towards the 260s. I will go as high as to say 270 is very much possible. So what causes this? I have no clue. Okay, I have no clue what will cause this. Maybe Trump meets up with China, and China makes a deal with Trump because let's be real, the whole tariff situation was just a strategic move to get these countries to make deals with the United States, and my bet is that China will be the reason that big tech really takes off. So, if China can come up with a deal, or if the U.S. comes up with a deal with China, we can very much see things start to really recover and get these gaps filled back towards the upside when it comes to these semiconductors. And so you look at SOXX. And pretty much you're looking at the same scenario with SOXX. You have somewhat of a double bottom here. But then you go to the daily time frame and you're bouncing off. And here's the thing, this is a rising wedge. I would say a rising channel. It's a bearish pattern, but it's not my favorite pattern. I will say that much. It's a trash pattern in my opinion. But you are bouncing off this trend here on SOXX. You're bouncing off this trend, this diagonal trend here off SOXX, and then you can argue that this is a reversal hammer pattern. And so we could see a bounce heading into the rest of this week, and we can start recovering these gaps back towards the upside. But once again, ES is still bothering me. Okay, it's in a terrible spot. It's in a trash spot. But when you're looking at the NQ, when you're looking at the triple Qs, and you can even look at the semiconductor ETFs, it's very much possible we see some type of bounce back towards the upside. And I will go as far as to say that this could be the last bounce before we really see that next drastic move towards the downside. As you guys know, I'm still standing on what I'm saying. I'm bearish for the month of February. So we saw that bearish move start, I think yesterday or the day before, whatever. Right, we saw that move happen already, and I think in regards to the tariff news, right? Because we're basically seeing the tariffs get delayed, right? I think it's going to all be based on China. If China, I think all the tariffs that are currently happening or that didn't happen, I guess, Mexico, Canada, so on and so forth, Colombia, so on and so forth. Um, I think they're going to get delayed, or going to get, they're not going to happen. And then I think it's going to all draw down to China. I think China is going to either be the reason that the market sees new highs or previous highs, or the market crashes and burns all over again. And we know how Trump and China are with each other. I mean, Trump blamed China for COVID, so it's hard for me to imagine that's going to go well if Trump decides to meet up with China. But yeah, that's something you definitely want to pay attention to. I think the market is going to care about that more than anything else. We'll have to wait and see. But like I said in the Discord, all this news is all strategic. It's all strategic. Um, I don't take the tariffs news seriously. I don't think that's going to be the main thing that crashes the market. I could be wrong. Maybe China does something crazy. China is pretty petty and childish when it comes to the U.S. is childish as well, but they tend to go back and forth. U.S. does something to China, China does something back, probably 10 times worse, and so on and so forth, and it just keeps happening that way. So that's my thoughts. I said this in a Discord that I think it's going to boil down to what China decides to do. And maybe I'm late. Let me know if you guys got any information in the comments below. Maybe I missed something. Maybe China's tariffs are just off the table. Who knows? But we'll see. And so we go to the Discord real quick. Um, Today, absolutely banger of a day. A lot of new members joined. I really appreciate you guys joining. It's been an insane weekend, an insane day. This guy today, he made money off the 599 spy calls, zero DTE. Trade here. Another spy puts 565 puts. I believe this was the position that he got into when we were talking about getting into spy puts. So yeah, he made about 1,791. Meta play 650 puts. This was something he did on his own. $875 off that. 596 puts today. Zero DTE. 1,120. I mean it's insane. All right, we've had a lot of people join. It's been insane. It's going to be an insane year for us. I'm truly excited for the Discord. It seems like a lot of new members enjoy the Discord bot. So if you want access to our plays and our Discord bots, Discord link will be in the description below. And other than that, let me know if you guys agree with the whole tariffs thing. Was it a strategic move set by Trump, or are they going to pop back up? Do you think China is going to pretty much either make or break the market? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you have any questions, let me know as well. I think I went over everything I want to say. But other than that, that's all I have, guys. Things look good for now. I wouldn't marry it just yet. Again, like I said, I'm just not comfortable with ES being right here. This area right here sucks. I mean, this sucks. Okay, so we do have news tomorrow. Maybe we break above here and start going crazy. Or if we do reject from here, I would just say don't be surprised if we reject from here. Again, I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that this area sucks. Okay, but everything else looks pretty good. Okay, everything else looks pretty good. That's all I have. Until the next video, traders. Have a good one.